South of Midnight previews are dropping. Lots of good stuff to talk about when it comes to the game. The game is looking very good. There was also a deep dive that was put out, so we'll go through just some of the stuff said in that deep dive as we get closer to April 8th. We have some more information about ID at Xbox. There's a bunch of games coming over from that program. Xbox is also helping in the development of Mecha Break. It's console exclusive on Xbox, so we'll talk about that. Talk about the Xbox Store, which does a lot better job of curating the lists of games when you search stuff. Not as much spam comparatively to PlayStation, which looks like they are cracking down on, which I think is a good thing. Astrobot. This is an interesting one. We know the sales aren't really up to par, I would say, as to what PlayStation, I think, was hoping for. They're going to try to offset that here with a new PlayStation 5 bundle. Smart move, but we'll go over that. Plus, we have more information across various different things like Stellar Blade and the Order 1886 sequel and Assassin's Creed. But before we continue, if you do enjoy staying updated on everything happening in the gaming industry, make sure to hit the subscribe button, as I do put out daily content with gaming news. If that's your style of content that you do enjoy, I see about 50 of you who do watch. Stay up to date, but don't hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate it if you just hit that red button and help this channel grow. But let's jump into it and let's talk about South of Midnight. The previews are all dropping. I watched a bunch of them. One of the best ones that I saw was an interview. The Iron Lords podcast put that out. They go over some interesting stuff here with the game. One of the things that was confirmed in that interview was the frames per second. The game is 60 FPS on both the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S. But we got a lot more information from a deep dive as well in terms of what we can expect from this game. They showed off more. I mean, we've already seen a lot about South of Midnight, but it's always nice to kind of get deeper into exactly what this game is going to be before it does come out on April 8th. And we have this here. This is from Kami 13 Online, which is a great summary here of the Xbox podcast deep dive. If you want to see more gameplay, you want to go check out just even more footage of this game, go check out that podcast. And again, there's lots of previews as well. But the playtime, they say here, will be roughly 12 hours. Now, for me, this is a surprise because this game is cheaper. I believe it's $39.99 or $49.99, something along those lines. It is not a full price game. Now, 12 hours still isn't like a huge game, and you could still justify and see the price being lower for that length. But I was really expecting it to be maybe around 7 to 8 hours. So 12 hours roughly here for playtime. And I'm sure you can do it a lot faster or even get a little bit more than 12 hours out of it. So there is going to be a nice chunk of content in this game. Hazel is a weaver, and she's able to weave an ancient form of magic that can be used for combat and traversal. I mean, you take a look at the video, you see a lot about the combat. The combat looks cool, looks fun. I can't wait to just see it in action and how it just feels with the stop motion graphics, because that's something that I think looks phenomenal. You can turn it on and off. However, there are a lot of people there that are questioning whether it will translate well in your hands. It says Hazel has different spells, including pull, weave, constructs objects, glides, double jump, and more. Hazel is trying to save her mother and finds herself in a deep south inspired setting that she does not recognize. And it features enemies from the real Southern US folklore. As somebody who lives in Canada who does not know very much about the Deep South, I'm very excited to explore this part of the world in this game and maybe learn something new from it. So I'm actually very excited about the setting that they did go with. It says music is integrated into the gameplay and story. One of the levels, you're going to slowly build the song. I love that games do this, or games that choose to do this. For example, Hi-Fi Rush, if you remember, that's one of my favorite games. And just having the music integrated into the gameplay, building it up and everything, that's great to hear. Compulsion Games works with local blues musicians and children's choirs for some of the music. And I know I live in Canada, but I do like blues music. So again, this is awesome to hear. They say you can disable the stop motion effect. Hazel isn't afraid to swear, and the stories she uncovers are far from fairy tales that we're used to. It says here, each major area in the game will feature a mythical creature. New abilities can be unlocked and upgraded. Difficulty options will be included. There's perfect dodging, damages and for enemies and everything, and 60 FPS. Perfect dodging damages your enemies. So there's definitely going to be a lot of skill integrated into this combat and making sure that you're doing it correctly to get an advantage. And then 60 FPS target confirmed. They say here, but some previews noted performance issues in the development build. So that's a lot of information. But the game sounds phenomenal. It looks phenomenal from everything that we are seeing put out here. I hope it translates into it being a phenomenal game when it does launch on April 8th. Because, of course, games can always look good before launch, but when they do launch, they can fall flat. This one, I truly believe, is going to be Compulsion Games' coming out party here. And it's going to be the one that puts that studio on the map. They've had 2 previous games. They both were just average. I've played the first one in Contrast, and I thought it was okay. It was good. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't the best game in the world. And then We Happy Few, I just didn't finish it. I was really excited for it. Couldn't finish it. South of Midnight, I'm hoping, is that one that I spend a lot of time in and just look at every nook and cranny in this game with the world building and enjoy the combat and everything. And I hope it's the one that puts Compulsion Games on the map. Now, if you like indie games, you're going to be happy to hear that ID at Xbox is going to have very busy weeks coming up, as they're going to be launching 25 plus indie games on Xbox, starting actually today with 2 that are being launched here. You have The Quilts and Cats of Calico and Undying, and then there's going to be a bunch of stuff here that will be coming out after that. 25 plus in the upcoming weeks. It's great to see, because supporting these indie games, this ID at Xbox program, I think does a very good job, and indie games have some of the most creative games in the industry. When you're seeing a lot of the same stuff from AAA developers over and over again, indie comes in here and gives us something different. So I'll be looking forward to see what other stuff comes out of these 25 plus indie games as well. They're at that IGN FanFest thing, the ID at Xbox show, that you're going to be able to watch, and I'm sure they'll have lots of announcements there as well. All right, yesterday we talked about the PlayStation Store and the issue with spam. When you search a game and then you just get a bunch of shovelware thrown at you, it is something that definitely needs to be curated, fixed on PSN. Looks like PlayStation is cracking down on it, as people have been noticing there is less shovelware in their searches. One of the things that Xbox does a lot better job at is creating better searches, so you're not getting shovelware when you do look for stuff. And they're actually being praised here for the job that they do in their store creation comparatively to Sony and Nintendo. And this comes via IGN, and a report from IGN looking at the issues of the store searches and the shovelware and everything. And they say here, I think Xbox really puts a lot of effort into their service. I would say they are tougher to launch on than something like Epic Game Store or Steam, solely because they have a pretty high standard for their pages and are very hands-on. In my experience, you work with their ID team directly to work through both your page and a build cert. They will truly bend over backwards for you, even if you don't see eye to eye. So it's a pretty big praise there in terms of what's going on with their store. It's completely different from some of the stuff that we heard with that Inotria game, where they were really pissed off that they just hadn't responded to them. And obviously that did get worked out, but the ID at Xbox team and the ID at Xbox pages and everything on the Xbox store, where you're just getting indie developers, where you would think that they could just put anything on there. It's just not the case. They actually have to meet certain standards, which reduces the overall shovelware when you're searching up games. Something that isn't the same. I mean, if you go on the eShop on the Nintendo Switch specifically, you see a lot of shovelware on there all the time. And then in PSN, if you're just typing in looking for a main game, you will get some random things that pop up that clearly are not what you're looking for. Xbox has done a great job. They've curated their service very well. And I think one of the major reasons why they have done this so well and why I think it is better than the other stores is because it's their major focus, right? It's not the hardware itself. It's taking that Xbox store and that Xbox experience, and now we're seeing it trying to get pushed out everywhere, PC, cloud, all that stuff. You have to make sure that the experience of the store when you're looking for stuff is good, or people are just not even going to give the time of day for the service itself. So hopefully they continue to improve it and everything, but good on them for doing that. Now, there is a console exclusive that not a lot of people are talking about. I've seen this one a couple of times. It is a multiplayer game, and it looks like it is a ton of fun. Microsoft is actually assisting in the development of this one, and that is Mecha Break here. It's coming in spring 2025. Again, it is a mech multiplayer style of shooter, third-person shooter. Looks fun. They say here that Mecha Break is Amazing Season Games' first foray into console development, and we are committed to providing the quality experience that gamers deserve on day one. The Xbox team is providing crucial support for key features such as crossplay and cross-save functionality. And they continue here to say, Squad Up and Mecha Break, a multiplayer third-person shooter offering players 3 unique game modes filled with high-octane ground and aerial combat. Choose from diverse classes, customize your appearance, and battle hostile mechs across treacherous terrain. So this game coming out spring 2025. Xbox is helping with the development to make sure that it does launch properly. Something I've talked about on this channel before. It's just basically, if there are issues with games launching on the platform, this one is a bit different because it is a console exclusive, but if there are issues, they have to send that team out that they do have to help make sure those issues do get worked out. The thing with, you look at some of the games that skipped Xbox initially but released later, this is what should always be happening. It's great to see that this is happening here, so there are no issues when this game does launch. I'm looking forward to trying it out though. Spring 2025. Try the multiplayer fun. I've seen videos of it. It does look like it's fast-paced action and everything, so should be an interesting one to see how well it does, particularly here when it does launch as a console exclusive, not pulling in players from the other platforms out there. All right, one of the big games, one of the game of the year is Astrobot. That's one game of the year at the Game Awards 2024, and critically, it did extremely well. A lot of people did love it. Commercially, however, we were hearing it sold around 2 million units. And my reaction initially to that is that's completely fine. 2 million units for this game is more of a niche game. You know that not everybody on PlayStation is going to buy it anyways. And it probably had far smaller development costs comparatively to some of PlayStation's other major AAA games. So the margins are probably decently okay on it. I don't know that for a fact. That's just what my thought process was when I heard about the 2 million sales. Of course, though, PlayStation wants to get more out of it, especially with an install base on PS5 right now that I think sits around 65 million or so. You'd think that they would try to push more units, and now they are going to be doing this, and I would consider this kind of artificially pushing more units. People may not play it, but it doesn't really matter because there's no microtransactions. They can just go to their investors after and say, hey, look, we sold this many more Astrobot units. Something they kind of do with their other games whenever they do these console bundles. But it looks like an Astrobot bundle is going to be coming soon to help boost the sales of Astrobot on the PlayStation 5s. This comes via Deal Labs writer Bill Kuhn, who gets a lot of this stuff correct in advance of the announcement. Very good track record of leaking games, controllers, hardware, all of that stuff. And according to Bill Kuhn, the new bundle will include a standard PlayStation 5 console with a disc drive included, along with a download code for Astrobot. They say here it's not expected to include the special Astrobot DualSense controller. To me, that's kind of a miss. If they were to include that controller, a lot more people, I think, would be interested in this. And apparently here, it's going to be an estimated price of £474 to £499, which would be a discount on the standard price of £549 with a PlayStation 5 disc drive. And it's expected to launch around March 13th. And specifically here, this is going to be in North America and Europe. So they're definitely pushing this out here, I think, for one reason and one reason only. And it is to increase the number of sales of Astrobot in their numbers that they can bring to their financial reports, their investors, and say, yeah, we sold another 1 million units of this game. Even if somebody doesn't even play the game whatsoever after purchasing this bundle, they're going to count it as a sale and try to boost its overall numbers. So smart business move, absolutely. But overall, Astrobot, if you look at it comparatively to the amount of PlayStation 5s out there, the attachment rate is low. And I think they were hoping to get just a little bit more there, which they're going to try to push here with this bundle. All right, let's talk here. The Order 1886, a beautiful looking game, a shorter game that came out on the PS4, didn't have great reviews, but a lot of people look back on the Order 1886 with nostalgia. And there's the questions, would there ever be a sequel for this game? The answer is no, at least as of right now. Who knows what happens in the future? But Ready at Dawn, the co-founder of the studio, discusses the failed Order 1886 sequel pitch. This is another pitch that PlayStation shot down, which we heard about Resistance 4. Here's another one that was shot down. They say here that the Order 1886 receives a 63 score on Metacritic, which again, pretty low, did not do very well critically. And they say here that I don't think it was the sales. I think it was the critical reception. That's the thing. Sony's very proud group, and rightfully so, and the critical reception. If it had been just in the 70s, we would have had the sequel. I'm convinced just a few points more and it would have been okay. Goes on here to say that one of the problems is that so much was cut. A lot of the more subtle narrative parts were lost because so much was chopped away and things that were supposed to be interactive became a movie. I mean, from being honest, there's a lot of that style of stuff in PlayStation first party games where it just kind of feels like a movie. He says, we needed another year. That's the reality. We needed at least one more year. We didn't get it. So we were like, cut. And then goes on and says that 2018 would have been very realistic launch window for the sequel, which would have featured multiplayer. And while he didn't confirm what year the game would have taken place in, he said fan theory that it was going to be set in 1986 was wrong. So they pitched this sequel. It did not get accepted here by Sony, and they believe it is because of the Metacritic score. The Order 1886, if you have played it and checked it out, you can tell that it felt kind of rushed overall, but there was definitely something there. To me, it's a shame that they didn't get another chance to make a second one in this series. Adding in multiplayer too, you think if they would have greenlit that, where could that franchise be right now on PlayStation? Could it be one of those games that blew up to have a great multiplayer side of it, to have some sort of games as a service that PlayStation is desperately looking for and needing right now? Maybe a missed opportunity here, simply they believe because of the Metacritic score being too low. Now, another game that was previously a PlayStation exclusive is coming to PC, and we have some information here about what they believe it's going to be like on PC, it being optimized, Steam Deck, handhelds, all of that type of stuff. If you are excited to play Stellar Blade, here's some info for you. There was a Q&A for Shift Up with their earnings report, and one of the questions at this Q&A was, what are the expected results of the PC version and why? And they say in the AAA game market, PC devices have higher market share than consoles, so we expect the performance of the PC version to exceed that of the console version. And as of right now, every company is thinking the same thing, which is why the push for PC is so high. They see how much more market share there is. They see how it's growing exponentially comparatively to console, which is kind of stagnating. And there's a lot more opportunity to make money. He goes on here, it says, we are particularly observing trends such as the significant expansion of the single-player action game market in the Asian gaming industry, and we have identified and analyzed both successful and underperforming cases of console exclusives released on PC, and we're preparing to release the game in a way that ensures continued success in the PC market. And this will include optimization, enhancing user convenience, adding supplementary content, and tailored marketing strategies unique to Shift Up. In particular, we plan to optimize the game to ensure smooth gameplay even in UMPC Steam Deck environments. And to me, this is very, very telling that you have these developers looking at PC and looking at the handheld side of things and seeing that it is very important to have a successful launch on PC. More and more PC gamers are getting a handheld PC to supplement their main PC gaming experience, which is why you see Xbox getting into the handheld side of things, and why I do believe as well you will see PlayStation getting into it as well with the next generation. Nintendo's already there. They have the handheld. Connect it to your TV, take it with you on the go. It just supplements your overall gameplay. It doesn't need to be your main way of playing, but people love it to play these games in many different scenarios depending on what they are doing on the bus, laying in bed, all of this type of stuff. And you're seeing it take off in a big way. So cool stuff there. If you are excited for Stellar Blade, looks like they're making sure this game is going to be very, very well optimized and people aren't going to be complaining about it and showing about how broken the game is. All right, Assassin's Creed Shadows is upon us in March. I'm excited for this game. And as you know, in this game, there are two characters you can play as, Yasuke and Neo. And there's going to be lots of questions here as to kind of what character you want to use depending on your playstyle, all of that type of stuff, and how will this affect your experience with Assassin's Creed Shadows when we have more information on there. And I think this is good because you're going to be able to choose between the both of them, but apparently it's not really going to leave you disappointed if you choose one over the other. It says here, Assassin's Creed Shadows will adapt to the character you are playing with. This was an interview with Screen Rant, and Jonathan Dumont, who's the game's creative director, he spoke at length about the dual protagonist system and how it will work for Assassin's Creed Shadows, explaining that Yasuke and Neo are distinct in gameplay but complementary in narrative. And the story and the world are experienced from two different sides. Neo comes from a shinobi background. Yasuke is a stranger, but nobility at the same time. And Dumont says that he likes how both voices sound very different in the sense that they look at the world a little bit differently. And adds here that Assassin's Creed Shadow characters will receive individual introductions and then they get their own quest lines. So there will be different quest lines here. However, they're more complementary. So you're not going to miss out, I think, from like the main parts of the narrative. You may miss out on some smaller things, which would make you want to go back and play as the other character. But the main things you probably aren't going to be missing out on. He clarifies here that there might be a couple of choices here and there which might make players wonder what would happen with this character, but he doesn't think that they are missing out. So to me, that is an interesting choice there. That is something that will bring, I think, people back just to see what would happen with the other choice, but you're not going to be missing out on major quest lines or anything like that. If you think about Assassin's Creed Syndicate, it seems different in the way that they're going about this. That one, you are forced to play as both characters in different quests. This one, you're going to choose. I think you're going to be able to play through the entire game as one character or the other and try out both playstyles depending on the way that you do want to go. And finally, Marvel Rivals has been hit here with a major security flaw. This is being claimed by a hacker, so we'll go through this. It says here that a report from Shell Zuth's blog, spotted by GamerRanks, discusses Marvel Rivals security exploit, which lets hackers access the player's PC and PlayStation 5. And the report states that developers use remote code execution for their hotfix patching systems. And when the codes are executed, the game doesn't verify whether the command comes from the real server. Moreover, it provides admin privileges for the sake of anti-cheat, making it easier for the hacker to take over the device. So this is pretty wild. NetEase has been contacted here to inform them about the issue. Hopefully it gets patched before too many people get affected by this game. Obviously, it's very popular and a lot of people could be affected by it. So hopefully this all gets fixed up before that. But on the video there, guys, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
We'll be right back.